Hey, Sprocket Talk viewers, don't you wish you could make every single conversation count? You know what time it is. Are you a HubSpot user looking for fun and interactive education that helps you be better at HubSpot? Then welcome to Sprocket Talk. That's right, it's your boy George B. from Sprocket Talk, aka Impulse Creative, and we're going to talk about conversations, we're going to talk about sales, marketing, all sorts of things. Hopefully it doesn't go off air. Hey, anyway, let me go ahead and introduce our guest. Jeff, why don't you explain to the Sprocket Talk viewers and listeners who you are, what you do, and who you do it for?
Yeah, thanks, George. First off, thanks for having me on the show, and pleasure to be with you. My name is Jeff Reekers. I'm VP of Marketing for Aircall.
That was the most succinct intro anybody has ever given, because they always try to go into the first question, which I'm like, okay, so I don't have to ask that first question. We're going to go 50,000 foot view here, Jeff, and I want the people, the viewers, the listeners, the HubSpot users that don't know what Aircall is, like, if you have to explain it, elevator pitch, so they understand it, what do you give them? At
a simple level, Aircall is a cloud-based phone system for teams. Our phone system integrates with all critical business tools, CRM, help desk systems, similar to HubSpot, provides insights into every conversation. And that's where the key, make every conversation great, comes about. And we do this in a way that's more easy and elegant than ever before.
So I love this, and I want to ask a question that is at a deeper level, but I'm going to wait till I ask this other question. With a technology like Aircall, like, why would most companies need a tool like that in their Batman tool belt, if you will?
And the key here is with the integrations and with tools like HubSpot. You know, I think how we think of the phone and phone systems as a whole is extremely old and archaic. And I think how we think of them, or traditionally how it's thought, is just connecting two people on a voice conversation. And so what we look at is really adding value to voice. And we believe this is a really powerful way to communicate. And when there's no context behind it, and it's just connecting two people with a number, your conversations suffer as a whole. But they don't have to. And if you are able to connect a system like HubSpot, you're able to get, if you're a support rep, really key information about that customer before you even pick up the phone. You're more likely to have a much more successful conversation and have a better customer experience overall.
Jeff, you mentioned the word insights a minute ago, and then in that you said information. That's where I want to dig a little bit deeper. I want, if you can, maybe to explain some examples of what type of insights are we talking about? What type of information can make that conversation more meaningful? What will they have at their fingertips, if you will, that they wouldn't before have now that they integrate Aircall to their HubSpot platform?
Well, so any information that's stored either within Aircall or within another phone, or within another tool itself. So if I have if John Doe or Sally, whoever is giving me a call, if I have information logged about the MPS data or last shipping date or missed payments or something like that, if I can get that information on my pre-call application, I'm more likely to have a better phone call. So all that information, whatever's stored in another system that you want at your disposal, should be readily available and can be readily available, and that's what we focus on.
Now, Jeff, most of the time when we do these interviews and we're talking about HubSpot and tools that plug into HubSpot, a lot of times we're talking about marketers. So I have to ask the question, like, is Aircall mostly for marketers, or is it actually one of those tools that's, well, anybody, marketer, sales, service? And if it's an everybody tool, like, what are some of the scenarios where they were going to use this to make it better than normal?
Specifically, we focus on support and sales teams right now, and we also have a number of customers. We have about 3,000 customers overall that use this as a general phone system within the organization as a whole. And so it can be all departments, and our goal is over time to have all departments using and gaining value out of Aircall. But specifically, we're focused on support teams and sales teams, because that's where the sort of the brunt or the big portion of customer prospect communications are going on over the phone.
So one of the sections are actually two questions. I kind of piece it off as a section, but two questions I like to ask are specifically for the viewers, the listeners, the searchers, if you will, and that is cost and competitors. And I feel like it's almost a little bit of a volleyball game where I ask you the first two questions and then you get a chance to just really talk about yourself or the service that is Aircall. So the first thing I'm going to bring up is, if this tool is something that helps you simplify or helps you get a better conversation with your folks that you're dealing with on the sales or service side of things, sometimes those tools can be pricey. So talk to the viewers and listeners through, like, what does this actually cost your business to have in place?
Yeah, so we have different packages and plans. It ranges anywhere between, say, $30 a month up to $70 a month, depending what sort of integrations you want or what sort of level of depth you want, whether it's analytics or whatnot. We also have custom plans for more robust use cases, more large, enterprise type use cases as well. That can range a bit higher than that if it needs to be. So it kind of depends on what the overall needs of the business are, and we try to match up the best packages possible for what that need is.
So here's where we play volleyball. I'm about to set, you're about to spike. When you look at the landscape of technologies like Aircall, what are some of the competitors? So let's list some of those out so we know. And then how is Aircall better than those competitors, or maybe even different? Maybe answer in that way.
The phone system and market is, it's huge. Almost every business has some sort of phone system or another. So you've got things like Ring Central, TalkDesk, Dialpad, they're all sort of on the list. But we don't necessarily view, I think those are short-term components and short-term competitors that we're talking about there. And we're really focused on, we don't see quite as much competition, is we kind of break the market out into two different areas. One is you have sort of I'm making a graph here with my hands. On the vertical axis, you might have like productivity features, and you might see this really commonly in like call center applications. Something like TalkDesk might be a good example here, and that's about like banging out as many phone calls as you possibly can, or really doing complex routing regulations for a large inbound call center or something like that. And then you've got more the collaborative side, and this is more where I think Ring Central hangs out, and that's if I want to set up a general phone system for my entire business. I need really collaborative features. It's sort of like the UCaaS marketplace, which is Unified Communications as a Service. And we try to sit in the middle of those two. So if you're an SMB company, for example, you want the really collaborative systems. You don't want to have two phone systems for your organization, one for your support and sales teams and one for the rest of your organization. You want to be able to combine those. And so we have a really easy to use system for the entire organization that people can share phone calls, collaborate on phone calls, assign phone calls to somebody else. Similarly, we have productivity features so that you can make tons of outbound calls with an auto dialer, or route to the right person, and be able to solve tickets faster, and you have first resolution rates increase and things like that. So we try to combine those two, and we think we're one of the few systems that really does that well.
Sprocket Talk viewers and listeners, I will tell you that if you go over to their website, aircall.io, they talk about call center software set up in one click. Like, it's feature rich. We're talking like virtual call center, voicemail, business hours, international numbers, call queuing, interactive voice response, toll-free numbers, and then they've even got a section that is advanced call center and collaboration features, which Jeff was kind of mentioning, like call routing, share call inbox, shared contacts. I mean, the list goes on and on. You have to go over there and check it out. It's so many features that the icons change colors as you're scrolling down the page. I'm just joking, but that's a fun little fact that is true. So I'm not really joking, but the icons change color has nothing to do with what we're talking about. So here's where we have to get into this, though, because really we're here specific for the HubSpot users. And so when I think about Aircall, Jeff, and I think about HubSpot, how does it integrate? Meaning, do I have to, in the mountains of Montana to try to get TV signal, like aluminum foil, stand on one leg? Is it a one-button push, like in between those two maybe? And then when I do actually integrate it, like what happens? What can I see in HubSpot? How does it change maybe the way I work? And so talk us through the HubSpot Aircall integration.
Yeah, so we make it extremely simple to integrate. If you have an Aircall account, you have a HubSpot account, you just log into your Aircall account, and on the admin dashboard, you have the ability to essentially one click set up an integration into HubSpot. And what this allows you to do, and we have something really exciting coming out first off at Inbound coming up next week. So I can't go too far into what we're developing hand in hand with HubSpot to sort of create a next generation dialer within it. But I can say that as with the current integration, what you can do is you can get in there, set up the integration really easily on the admin dashboard, start having the ability to sync those two applications directly with each other. So if I'm getting calls inbound, I can get that contact information right out of HubSpot, and I can get a link directly into HubSpot. I can do click to dial and have some of the key features there. I can create new activities for missed calls and voicemails. I can get some of the really key things I need to do to integrate those two applications so that information is flowing back and forth really easily. And then some of the next generation things that we're developing with them. Well, if you're going to be at Inbound next week, it'll be a good time to check out the Aircall booth, because we'll go a little bit more depth on what we've developed hand in hand with them.
Yeah, Jeff, I always love when we have a tease on the show, and the fact that there's like, hey, there's some new stuff coming at Inbound. And I will tell you, if you're listening to this and you're traveling to Inbound, or you're at Inbound and it's late at night and you're in your room and you just couldn't shut down, and so you're listening to the mellow voice of one George B. Thomas, yeah, nobody's doing that. Anyway, make sure you stop by their booth and check out what the new features are going to be about, because of course that's what they're going to be talking about at Inbound. Jeff, I am super curious, when we think of all the different types of companies out there, B2B, B2C, G2G, oh my gosh, like the acronyms can go on forever. When we think of, and you would think that everybody needs a phone system, but one of the questions I always like to ask, just so our viewers know and understand, are there companies that are a better fit for Aircall than others? And what does that landscape look like when you're prospecting or talking to somebody, if you should even provide the service for them?
So anyone who really values voice communications and phone calls, and that type of business tends to be one of a few. Specifically, it has either a large number of customers, and so you'll see that often with companies with consumer customers, or a B2C company, or with a large list of prospects that a sales team is reaching out to. So it might be less like the enterprise SaaS company that's reaching out to a target list of 50 accounts. It might be more the one that's got an inside sales team that's making a high volume of outbound calls. And so we see those tend to be the types of activities, sort of the use cases most common and that get the most value out of Aircall. And those tend to be e-commerce companies, B2B SaaS companies, and there's tons of others that also uses for the general phone system for like consulting businesses and such. But really anybody who's deriving most of their business out of a CRM system and having a large volume gets the most value out of Aircall.
Love it. And if that's you, Sprocket Talk listeners and viewers, then give them a call. I was trying to figure out a way to fit air in there. But anyway, Jeff, one of the things we love to do on these episodes is give the guest an opportunity, professional or personal, to leave the listeners with a piece of wisdom or a strategy that they should roll with. This is the moment where they're listening and they go, oh, I'm so glad I listened to this episode. So in your case, what piece of strategy, and it can be around calling, it can be around business or life, would you like to leave the guests with?
We'll keep it somewhat relevant to the topic of the day, but I think one thing we're seeing in the software world as a whole is there's so many softwares out there. It's just there's almost commoditization that's going on in the marketplace as a whole. And a key is being able to integrate all your systems together. And whether you're a business, whether you're building your business, it's about integrating your tool into all the other key tools within your ecosystem. So looking at your customers and saying, what are the other tools that they're using, and how can my tool fit in with that, and how can they all integrate together so that you're sharing information and creating as simple of a process as possible. Or if it's as the go-to-market approach, how can you give your customers the best experience by integrating different softwares together? And I think that's really the key where we're seeing the marketplace go as a whole. And it's something that we've sort of lived by at Aircall, is building out the best possible integrations into other key tools that our customers are using. And so that's the one thing I would say to take away is the key in the future of software, we believe, is around that integration component, the information sharing that you can derive for the customer itself is really key.
Jeff, first of all, I want to say thank you for taking time to actually do the interview with us. I know the viewers and listeners are going to love it and get great value out of it. Before we let you go, though, if people want to learn more about Aircall, if they want to talk to you, maybe touch base, where do you want to send them? Where do we want to kind of, hey, here you go?
So you can first off check out aircall.io, reach out to any of the contact forms. We certainly follow the HubSpot best practice rules for how to try to convert an inbound lead. So there's plenty of options to put your information there. Or you can just reach out to me directly, Jeff, Jeff, Reekers, REEKERS at aircall.io, and happy to pick up any communications through there as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeff.
You bet. Thank you, George.
All right, Sprocket Talk viewers, was that awesome or what? Listen, just the fact that making all of your conversations count, we could have dropped the mic at the very beginning of the interview. Do you like these interviews, updates, and tutorials? Then make sure you head over to sprockettalk.com/FB. It goes to our private Facebook group where we can carry on the conversation long past these videos. Also, make sure you check out sprockettalk.com/audio or /video for our iTunes podcast, because we understand that you're on the move and still trying to learn. Make sure you head over to our Facebook page and our YouTube channel where you can hit the bell and the subscribes. Really, just let us know that you're part of the community. Hopefully you're going to inbound, you're listening to this on your way, and you can stop over at the Aircall booth. But if not, I'll be sharing information about inbound, and you can continue to do some happy HubSpotting.